The management company I was with at that time, they were very much, you're the black girl, so you can't get a front cover. You're not aesthetically pleasing. That's what I got at that time.
Hey guys, it's Matt Haycox here, and we're here today for another one of our segments of Success in the Spotlight as part of the Matt Haycox Show. And today I've got with me Sabrina Washington from the very, very famous 21st century girl group Mystique. I've actually got to have notes for all the accolades that you guys have got actually on here, right? So for those of you that are too young to remember Mystique, they were one of the most successful groups of the 2000s with 2 top 10 multi-platinum albums, 7 consecutive top 10 singles, including the one we all know, Scandalous, record sales in excess of 12 million worldwide. And in the US, you had 2 top 5 singles, a top 5 album, as well as a Soul Train Lady of Soul Awards following appearances on Jimmy Kimmel. So, very impressive.
Thank you.
Thanks a lot for being here.
Thank you for having me.
No problem at all. So obviously that's some of the accolades, and I'm sure there's not many people listening who haven't heard of you. But tell us how it all began.
It all began with, young ladies girls just wanted to be in a group, like myself and Alicia. Like we just kind of met.
Were you friends before?
No, we met through a lady, and we just kind of clicked straight away, and it just kind of came together. And then Sue joined, and then we were there, and then we was in the studio, and then we was rehearsing, and then we was writing. We was like, yeah, okay, cool, yeah, we're going to be a great group. Like, yeah, what are we going to do? And then obviously we loved R&B at the time, because we was influenced a lot by, I'd say, America, and America was very, very R&B based. So we loved that. So that's the stuff that we wanted to do. So when Why first came out, which was our first single, we done Why in the R&B version, which we loved, and it got some traction, but we loved garage too. So we was like, okay, cool, we need to get a mix. So we got a mix, and Matt Jam Lamont done the mix, and we had to take it to the record company. We took it to the record company, and they were like, what's this? It's like, this is the mix. And they was like, okay. They didn't really understand it because they weren't really into garage on the record company that we was on. But they said, okay, we're gonna see what we can do. So we done the video, and then it blowed. It blowed without us even trying to make it. It just blew, which was amazing. So from there, it continued.
And what had you been doing prior to that? I mean, had you had a childhood interest in music? Were you trained in any way?
Right, so all the time in school, I was always singing, because always singing from primary school to secondary school, always trying to put groups together. I put so many groups together in school. I was always that one. No, let's put like a dance in the playground. Let's do this. Let's sing together. I was always that way. So music was always my thing. I'd grown up in a household where music was always played. So it was definitely my thing that I always wanted to do.
And so when you started putting the band together, I mean, did that feel different to the groups that you put together before? Did you think you guys clicked more than the previous ones?
I would say that whenever you're in a group of people, you always click. But when I met Alicia and the other girls, it clicked. So I knew that, okay, this one was going to be the one. So it was amazing.
And I mean, did you have any idea of what to expect? Who I guess was anyone there, holding your hand about the business side of things and fame and success?
No, because I grew up in a very multicultural area that had everybody there. So it was just a thing of, I loved music, I loved to be around people, and I loved things that made people happy. And garage at that time was a thing that everyone was dancing to. It brought joy to everyone. It was somewhere where people, when they was going out, they wanted to dress up. They wanted to look their best. It was just an amazing emotion. So when it happened, it just really happened, and we were just all excited.
And when did you really first feel successful?
Okay. First time, obviously back then, it used to be obviously Top of the Pops. But the first time I knew he was famous is when I heard Why on EastEnders. That was the first time I was like, okay, cool. It was in the car. All right, EastEnders, we've done it. Yeah.
How long after that, as in how long had the song already been out when that happened?
Well, it had charted at that stage. So when it charted, then when I heard it on EastEnders, because I've always been a fan of EastEnders, one of my favourite shows, I was like, okay, cool, we've made it now. We're in the car. Yeah.
And what was I guess what was it like with money back then? And you know, when did you first get your big paycheck? You know, what did you do with it? Were any crazy purchases?
I don't think we. I didn't think I didn't do any crazy.
You were the sensible one.
I'd say I didn't do any. Obviously we liked clothes and stuff like that, but I didn't do any crazy purchases back then. No.
And how long was the band around for?
Right, so we was around for 7 years.
Okay.
7 years in the everything just going off and popping off.
Were there ups and downs during that time, or was it all, I guess, like pretty static or a gradual ascent?
It was a gradual ascent. Was there any?
Were there ups and downs in terms? So in the 7 years of being together, you know, did the success and the fame kind of peak and trough, or were you always pretty? Was it always pretty static?
I'd say that it was very static. Once we got to the top 10, we stayed there. So that was real cool. It was, yeah. That was a cool thing about it. People picked up on our vibe, because at that time we weren't something that we put together, and the music that we were producing wasn't anything that someone gave to us. It was what came from us.
And how do you find yourself against your peers back then? Because I guess at the time that you guys were getting famous, that was probably a big time for reality bands being put together as well back then. Did you guys find, I guess, a successful point of difference in the fact that, you know, you weren't manufactured and you weren't put together, and you kind of wrote and controlled yourselves a lot better?
I'd say anyone that goes into the music industry, regardless of whether they were put together or wasn't, it's never, and I can't say anybody that's had a completely amazing experience that hasn't had trials and tribulations. That's what I will say. And I would never judge someone because that's how they got to their platform. Everyone has their way, and that's how life is.
And when you guys were around, or when you guys started to put the band together and get famous, this is in the days before social media. I mean, how
That's right.
How different do you think life would have been if social media had existed for you guys back then? I mean, is it something that you wish was around sooner, that you think could have, I guess, grown your trajectory even bigger, or, you know, do you kind of think you're glad it wasn't there because it probably managed to dodge some trolling that that came along in the future?
I think that I wouldn't change our path because it was organic. We went out on the road, we had to sign autographs, we went to meet people. It was a constant meeting of people and seeing how they felt about it. And that was really, really refreshing.
I wonder if people still ask for autographs now. It's all selfies now, isn't it?
It's all selfies now, but it was nice meeting people and having conversation and seeing how they felt about it or what it's done to them at a certain time, because music is that language that doesn't really have a visual. It just gets to where it gets to. And back then it was on a lot of pirate stations as well as obviously the normal stations that we listened to, but it was organically grown, and it grew from the pirate stations and the pirate DJs, and a lot of those have gone on now and they're on the main channels of very great radio stations, but it was organically and it grew. I'd say that now it's most probably more easier to get to people quicker, but it wasn't easy to get people quicker back then, but it was worth it because you met people.
I think it's a double-edged sword as well, isn't it? Because I think in today's world, whilst it's quicker to reach a greater number of people, it's also easier, and therefore the barriers to entry are a lot lower.
Yes.
So it's so much easier for so many people to quickly get famous, but then you've got to have a real skill or point of difference to be able to stay there. Whereas 15, 20, 25 years ago, it might be much slower to get there. But like you say, once you've got there, you've very much got people's attention, because the mediums, or the media or the mediums of people being able to watch you are smaller and less people on there. So you've got people's attention better.
That's true, and also, as you say, like with the growth, it may have been slow, but it's like watching something grow. Back then you used to watch something grow. You saw it at its, when you plant it and then it grew. Now it's like, okay, grow. And then you don't know the journey of how it got to there because it's so quick. So as you say, with social media, it does have its good points, as in people can actually get to know, I'd say, you more quickly because everything's open. Mm-hmm. It's an open forum, so you get to know people more quickly, but you have to keep that person's attention, don't you?
No, 100%. Yeah,
because the forum is so
harder
big
and
now.
harder to keep that attention because there's so many more people competing for it.
Yeah.
But I guess it keeps you on your toes.
That's right.
And at what point during your career did you kind of start to see and understand the business side of things? When did you realise it's not just about making music? That we have to build and cultivate a brand. That there's finances. There's so many other moving parts here.
The thing is that the other moving parts, I'd say that at times we weren't in fully control, because at that time we were managed by a company that were obviously just taking charge of a lot of the stuff that was the moving parts. At times they weren't that great. Actually, they weren't that great at all, to tell you the honest truth. But as you grow and you continue, you start to ask, questions and say, okay, cool, what's happening here? Why is this not that way? Or, how is this happening? So I say the more questions you ask when you are having your business, the more questions you ask is the more answers you'll get.
Sure.
And the more people you ask is the more answers you'll get. Because then you find, whoever you've asked or however many people you ask, then you get a balance between them all, and then you have your opinion.
If you look back now, are there many things that you would have liked to have done materially differently back then?
Materially different? I mean, our music spoke for itself, so we really didn't do much with our brand, as in our logo or having, we did have some endorsements, like we done, I think we done Reebok, and then we done Levi's. So we did have some, but if we knew what we knew back then, now we would have had a lot more.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So after 7 years, why did the band disband?
Okay, so when I was in the band, I had great experiences, but I also had not so great experiences. As in the management company I was with at that time, they were very much, you're the black girl, so you can't get a front cover. You're not aesthetically pleasing. So that was that's what I got at that time. even though I grew up in a multicultural society where my next door neighbor was Irish and then my other next door neighbor was Filipino, I never grew up in a place where I felt like race was an issue for me. But it was only when I was in the band that I actually was really awakened to race. And that was hard to manage, but at the same time, I knew as a young person, I wanted to be someone that someone else could look at and say, okay, cool, this is possible.
And so why did you break up?
We broke up because it got to a stage where the record company at the time, they went bust.
Oh, okay.
And then I think at that time, it was just the time to do it. It was that time.
And what was it like for you kind of going to bed one night, being in the band and waking up and, not being in the band, not having a job? Was it relaxing, refreshing at that point? Or did you kind of, wake up thinking, fuck, what do I do next?
I'd say it was a bit of both. Because as I said, I was dealing with racism within the music industry, which I'd never thought was actually there, because that wasn't from where I was seeing, I was like, okay, this is completely new, utterly new to me, because I'd grown up in London and I'd never been around that. So I didn't know what to do. It was quite frustrating at times. But I was like, this is really, really weird. So when that day did happen, I was actually like, okay, maybe I can just take some time for me now. Because when you're in a group, it's constant compromise. And when it's constantly compromised for long periods of time, you forget you and what you want to do or how you feel about it, because it's always constantly compromising.
And now you make music on your own. Do you prefer being a solo artist to being in the group? What?
I would say it's two different experiences. I'd say as a solo artist, I don't need to compromise now. So I can say exactly what I want to say when I want to say it, and I don't have to speak to anyone to say, okay, cool, how do you feel about this line, or how do you feel about this? I was always a writer. I wrote on all of the songs in Mystique. I'm a writer. So it was always my thing to do. But I would say this is that the reason as to why I stayed away so long is because racism left scars for me. I'd say that.
And what did you do during that time then, from the band finishing to starting to do your own music now? You've been writing for other people?
Writing for other people. I did have a couple of songs out which I'd done, not here but in Europe, and I've had a #1 in Europe, not at home. Always the way, isn't it? Why is it that you always have to go somewhere else to have a #1? Okay, cool. So I had it somewhere else, but not here. My back has always kind of been up when it comes to the UK and music, but I feel okay now to say, okay, I'm back and I'm doing music that I love and I feel comfortable. But it's taken a long time to get to a place where I felt comfortable.
And what lessons do you think you've learned over the years that make you more comfortable now, and that you'll be applying to yourself?
That opinions ain't facts. You just have to, everyone's entitled to their opinion, and everyone may have an opinion of you or what you're doing, but that's okay for them to have it, but don't take it in, because it doesn't necessarily mean that that's what you are. It's an opinion. It will pass. It's not a fact.
And talk to me about mentors. Have you got any now that you look up to that help you with various aspects of your career and life, or have there been people throughout your younger years that that you've looked up to and you think have helped or formed you in a big way?
Mentors. I don't really think I've had mentors. I've always been a person who wants to go ahead and achieve stuff. I've always been a person that I want to achieve, but I don't think I've really had mentors. But I'd say that where I am now, with the group of people that I'm around now, they are very encouraging, and I feel comfortable, and I trust the people that I'm around now, which makes me feel good. And they do, I say my team that I'm around now do help to mentor and do help to push me and do say, you know, the things that I need to hear at certain times. So yeah, I suppose I do have mentors.
Do you, I guess, now you realise you've got them around you now, I mean, do you look back and wish that maybe you'd had other people at certain times earlier in your career? You know, do you think things could have been different or smoother? Or?
I think that I'd say within the music industry, racism still exists, and they don't really, as we can see, we're in a time of things that are forward now and people are looking at, but we need to get to a stage where it's okay to talk about it. If you feel uncomfortable, it's okay to talk about it, because it's only talking between each other that we're going to get to a stage of understanding. Because unless you talk about it, how are we going to resolve the problem? And I still feel like there is a void that needs fulfilling, where people can go and sit down and talk and say, this is how I'm feeling right now. And someone can listen and understand. And if I had that back in the day, then maybe, you know, it would have been a different ending.
So what does the future hold? What are we going to see or hear more of?
Right, so I've got more music coming out, but I also have like a home line as well that does candles.
Oh yeah?
Candles and home stuff, you know, just bedding and stuff like that.
So tell me about how that came about.
Right, so that's Home by SW. And basically it's just bedding, candles, all the cushions and fluffy stuff that make you feel good at home. Because for me, my mum was so strict.
You already sound so much more excited about this than you have done talking about music for 20 minutes.
No, because that was old music. We haven't spoken about the new music yet. Okay, right. So my mum was very, very strict with me growing up. So I've grown up Catholic school, you know, very, very strict. So I wasn't really allowed out too much to get to me inside. So for me, my inside, when I was inside, that was a place where I started writing music and, you know, listening to music and understanding music and getting a place of, okay, I understand music, but I also liked my space to be a certain way. So I remember my mum went away to America one year, and this is before the group, and I was working and I was like, okay, cool. She's like, you coming to America? I said, no, Mom, I'm not coming. She said, why are you not coming? I said, no, Mom, I'm not coming, but you'll understand when you get back. And then I got my room decorated. So I got it painted, I got my floors like done. And
you did all these yourself?
No, I got someone in. Right. Got someone in to do, so when Mom
But you designed it?
Yeah, I designed it, and I loved interior. It was always my thing that I liked. So when my mum came in, she just looked around and she was like, what's going on? She said, it looks really nice. I said, thanks, Mum. She said, so that's why you didn't come? I said, yeah, because I wanted to make my space my sanctuary. And for me, it was always my place of calm and peace in my bedroom. So hence the reason Home by SW, because it's the place of calm and sanctuary. It's a place that should hug you as soon as you walk in. Because that place that says, you know what, welcome back. You're loved here, and you have every single thing you love in one space that makes you feel comfortable and calm.
So, and when did you actually start making the range?
Right, so the range I started making, I'd say 3 years ago. But yeah, it's just comfy and feely and candles, because candles is for light. It's calming. So everything that's calming is on there.
And where can we buy it?
So Home by SW is online.
Okay.
It's online.
And have you sold in any shops, or do you just only sell it all online?
It's all online. Isn't that where everything's going?
It certainly is. Yeah,
That's where everything is going, online. All the shops are closed right now, so yeah.
And do you, do you design and manufacture everything yourself, or you partner up with people?
I partner with different manufacturers to make up, you know, the stuff, but most of the stuff is manufactured in the UK.
Oh, fantastic.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, well, I'll have to check out your candles. Okay. Are they nice smelly ones, are they?
I love smelly candles, and for me, I just love the fact that when I have a candle, I want to light it, but I don't want to stand beside it to smell it. Because you know, some candles you have to stand beside it to actually smell.
You mean the smell doesn't go far enough? Yeah, the smell doesn't
go anywhere. You're just standing right next to the candle. I don't want to stand next to the candle. I want to get into a room, and then it just smells like a candle. So yeah, lovely scent. Yeah.
Fantastic. And there's some new music that you're more excited about?
Yes. So music, it's called my new single. It's going back to garage, going back to what I do. So yeah, so it's called Don't Call Me. I know, right? Not very social, is it? not that anybody's calling anybody nowadays. It's all WhatsApp messages.
It's a song for social distancing.
Yeah, it's a song for social distancing. But in this time that we're in, what I like about it is that it will still make you dance around and take you away from what's going on right now. Because I say that with music, I always say that with music, everyone has a soundtrack to their life. And that's what I found with the music that we've done, that it had, when I was in the group, it has a soundtrack to it. So people were like, oh my God, this time it made me feel this way. And this year it made me feel this way. So everyone has a soundtrack to their life. So in this time, I wanted to add something to the soundtrack that was uplifting and takes you away from what's going on right now.
Fantastic. So when you write a song,
yes,
do you know in your head what the music's going to be like when you do the words, or do you just do you write the words almost like a poem at that point, and then the music just kind of comes together?
It depends. Sometimes, as you say, you write it as a poem, or it might just be a couple of lines or 3 lines that come to you that stay in your head and you write it down. And then you might go somewhere or hear something and you're like, no, I want it to sound like that. Or you write to music. It just depends on where you are. But yeah, I just write anywhere and everywhere, and with music or without it, it doesn't matter.
And is this new song out now? Can we download it yet?
No, it's out on Friday of this week. I don't know. When's this?
We'll have to get it out before Friday, won't we?
Okay, yeah. Okay, cool. So, yeah.
No, we'll put it out before Friday.
Okay, cool. So yeah, so it's out on Friday. So
that's Friday. For anyone listening after the fact, that's Friday. What, the 5th?
Friday the 5th.
Friday the 5th.
And it's called Don't Call Me. And then it's had really, really good reviews in the Mirror. And then a good couple of lines in the Independent, and like it's getting really
from the tabloids to the broadsheets. It's got mass appeal.
So so it's nice because when I hear anyone, or when they come back and they say, it just makes them feel good, and feel good factor is definitely something that we need right now.
Certainly do. Well, I'm looking forward to hearing it. But before we go, other than listen to the song on Friday, just tell the guys at home where they can follow you, where they can find you. We've got SW Home. Mm-hmm. We've got the song on Friday. What about Instagram?
Instagram, it's just very, very straight. Sabrina Washington.
Fantastic.
Very straight.
Nice and simple.
Sabrina Washington at Instagram.
Perfect. Well, Sabrina, thanks a lot for being here. And guys at home, thanks for listening and thanks for watching. If you like the interview, please make sure you press like and also subscribe to the channel so you can hear lots more great interviews with people like Sabrina and hear their fantastic and inspiring stories. I'll see you again next time.